Jesus, you made it to the top throne. Let me see what my Godfather can do. Cause he's the father to the fatherless, a mother to the motherless, and not to know what can do. But promise not to fight again, not to do anything that we hurt again. Cause if you do, now we say you don't go again. And another time you go on again, that's why. Shebi make a tamua. Say my kina go join God. You want to bamba? You wanna G with the big boys? Now you the wrong, get the kitty, you the wrong, get enough to drink with a drop cup. Hey, never you see how it goes. Hey.
Yeah.
Hey, ha. Boy, I'm in I can't take back hearing. DJ give me now your cool hearing. Let me tell them how the thing goes. How the thing goes. Okay, okay. Shebi make a tamua. Say my kina go join God. You want to bamba? You wanna G with the big boys? Now you the wrong, get the kitty, you the wrong, get enough to drink with a drop cup. Hey, so you see how the thing goes? How the thing goes? Oh, you're telling me who blends you? And who? All right, take it easy, and let's play some behind the waist.
Okay, gentlemen and ladies, thank you so much for your time, for your patience. I do appreciate it. We will get started in the next 1 minute. I see Anderson, you're driving. Be very, very careful, as you're driving. Every other person, ensure that you're well seated, you're well relaxed. We are streaming this live to over 80,000 persons. We want as many people as possible to have access to the information that you have access to. Again, my name is Dairo. I am super excited about always coming here every day to supercharge you and to get you ready for the exciting technology industry. Welcome again. I'm going to quickly share my screen so that we can be on the same page. Today is going to be a very exciting one because you can ask anything that you want to know, you can ask all your questions. The entire Utiva team and our coaches are right here to support you, to help you learn. Again, I do need to mention that, please remember to mute your microphone. Remember to set your audio. I know a few people might not be able to hear us right now. So try as much as you can to set your audio. I'm putting the information here again for those that cannot hear, so that they can, set up their audio. Ensure that you're also well seated. Avoid all the distractions as much as you can. I am super excited to be with you again. This is Utiva. This is where we make technology education very easy for Africans. Dairo is my name. I lead the Utiva team. Let's quickly go through what the agenda of today really looks like. But before we do that, guys, go into the chat room quickly and tell me 2 things about yourself. Number 1 is your industry. So I'm expecting you to tell me your industry and then where you are currently based, the city you are right now or the country. Number one is your industry and your current location. Let's quickly keep that rolling, guys. Keep that rolling. Just beside me here, I have other guys that are joining us live on LinkedIn, which is very, very interesting. We have people joining us from LinkedIn. Okay, so if you follow the chart, you'll see that we have a Felua. Where are you from? We have Lydia from Kenya joining us right from this place. We have Oladipo Bioscience, Lori. We have Marianne, Power Distribution, Lagos. We have Jess, who is in journalism. Keep it coming, guys. We have Confidence Healthcare from Jalingo. Ifelua Agriculture from Ibadan. Mohammed, Law, Lagos. We have Debbie from UAE. We have different people from different parts of the world. And usually, when I tell people that Utiva is the largest ecosystem of technology talent, what we are doing here is quite very essential to mobilizing Africans into the future of work, into the technology industry. You can see here people coming from different parts of the world, from different cities, joining us live on this beautiful, beautiful day. Abubakar from Abuja, yes. Peter from Ibadan. Keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. I want to know where you're coming from, where you're joining us from. This is quite very important. Obo from Makodi, Mark from Nasarawa. I was very, very excited about having you guys here. And this is where we make tech learning, tech education very, very easy. We want to make it easy for you. So if you want to get into the technology industry, feel free. This is where we make it so exciting for you. Okay, again, I will be your host today. My name is Eitayo. This is a very exciting time for us all. Let's have fun and let us learn together. Let's learn together. So the 168 people that are joining me right here on Zoom, you guys are welcome. The 28 people that are listening to me right on LinkedIn, you guys are also welcome, right? We'll make this video of this session available to the entire 80,000 people on the Utiva network and our 90,000 people that are also connected to us but have not been able to join our learning programs. I am always very excited to have you guys here. Feel free to make friends. Amisu from Kano, connect with Ojuroye from Lagos. And I'm always very excited to see Zara on the call. Is there Zara again? Zara, you always join all the calls. Zara is joining us from Pakistan, I guess. And every other person that I cannot see your video and I cannot see your name, you're welcome to Utiva right now. What is Utiva actually? I mean, we are a community of over 13,000 tech professionals, people like you and myself that really want to learn to get into the technology industry. We have learners from over 30 different cities today, learners coming from different locations, different part of the world. The focus of Utiva is on premium tech skills, premium tech skills, premium. You have to underline that word, premium tech skills. These are skills that can position you for global opportunities. These are skills that can position you for great opportunities. We are a community of over 100 plus employers that trust us, that are hiring from our community. And this is amazing for us. This is awesome. If you're just like me, right, grab your cup of coffee or your cup of tea and feel relaxed. You're just about to learn and learn, well. So what are people saying about us? I'm going to play just 2 videos quickly, and then we'll move on quickly to the order of the day, to the plan of today. Guys, again, ensure that you are connected and you don't disconnect because it goes down when the G's connect. So let's connect and let's learn together.
My name is Odunyemi Feduma, and I am an energy systems analyst. I basically play in the space between energy systems and data analytics. I'm a member of the December cohort for the Utiva Data Accelerator, where we learned Power BI and SQL. My reason for taking up the Utiva Data Accelerator was because it aligns with my long-term career goals of business intelligence in the energy industry. Essentially, data drives business intelligence, and so as a technical person, it gives me an added skill set to add more value to the business than just my basic energy technical skill sets. My best experience in the program was my SQL classes with Abdul Quadri. I found that he was a very intuitive and excellent instructor on the SQL tool and also on data analytics as a whole. I didn't really have expectations of Utiva, of the delivery of the course virtually, but I would say that Utiva did a very great job, right? Though there was still some room for improvement, I believe they did a very great job in terms of delivering the course virtually. So I believe this data accelerator and the skills that I've learned in Power BI and SQL will really serve as a springboard for my pivot into data science in the energy space, and would also enable me derive more insights firstly from data and also create better and improved data structures. So I'm recommending Utiva as a one-stop shop for premium digital skills training. I would say that anyone looking to get the skill sets, right, can really, aside getting the skills right from Utiva and the mindset, they could also really position themselves better for opportunities by taking every other opportunity beyond that to learn and to showcase your skill set. So I believe that the more you showcase your skill sets, create platforms by yourself to showcase your skill sets, the more you draw opportunities in for yourself. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mike Ben Dorcas. I took a product design course with Utiva. Thanks to Ricky for always reaching out to me to come take this course. I took the courses online and it was not stressful, it was easy. My greatest experience with Utiva is having to lead a team of 5 guys and creating a mobile design app. My experience so far online has been top-notch and easy. I've been able to create my personal projects and designs, not 1, 2, but moving on to my 3rd project presently. Utiva is the #1 stop place for you to actually come and build yourself and build your skill. Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. I'm sure you heard Dorcas, amazing young lady that is now a product designer, that learns from Utiva. I love this opportunity because it gives, people the privilege to achieve their biggest aspiration. Tell me what's your biggest aspiration. I know that you all have like aspirations, things that you are excited about, things that you want to become, especially in the technology industry. And I can tell you for free, dreams really come true when you put the hard work, and that is what we are about to do today. So guys, you're welcome to the Utiva learning program, where this is the Utiva masterclass. This is where we want to answer all your questions. You have to bring them on, all your questions. We want to help you learn all the things you need to learn in terms of like how to get into the technology industry. And today, trust me, we are not joking. We have excited people on the call, Eric is a product designer. Eric Puplampu is a product designer from Ghana, amazing young man. He is currently a lead product designer, a community leader of UXDX, and is also a community partner of ADP List. Eric, you're welcome. Timmy is also another product designer. So we intentionally brought 2 product designers here to teach you, to answer your questions. Timmy is a product designer, someone that I've known for a long time. He's currently a product designer with Across the Horizon, I think based in the US. Timmy is a user experience evangelist. Timmy has trained over 1,000 people, in product design. He's also a senior product designer. He's a UR, VR, enthusiast. And I have, Ghalib Dairo is here with me. Ghalib is a senior cloud expert. Interestingly, Ghalib is a cloud solution architect, certified both on AWS and Azure. Ghalib is a cloud infrastructure architect at OpenFactor Technology based in South Africa. He works from South Africa. Ghalib was previously a former tech consultant at Accenture. So Ghalib, I know you're super busy. Thank you so much for joining us, Ghalib. Okay. Another guest today who is going to be answering all your question is our own Chidozie Patrick. Chidozie is a data analyst with CWAY. In his previous role, he was a data analyst with TechBridge Limited. Chidozie is also here with us. And Bukola is one lady among the many guys. She's a product manager, a product leader, currently a product manager with Cassbana. I think they're based in Egypt. In her previous role, she was a product analyst with Nine Mobile and also an entrepreneur herself, a co-founder, chief product officer of Joint Plus. And GB is based in the UK here. Brilliant young man, a software engineer, a chief technology officer, worked in the past with Andela as a tech consultant. He's an entrepreneur, started a couple of different businesses, and he has worked with those businesses as a chief technology officer, currently running his master's on scholarship as a master's in computer engineering in the UK. These are guys that will be sitting down with you today to answer all your questions, all your questions. And trust me, it's going to be a very, very interesting one with them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is this. All my guests, I'm going to quickly spotlight them. And then you get the opportunity to ask them questions. But remember, guys, you can put your questions in the chat room because that's the goal. The goal is to have you put your questions in the chat room and we will answer your questions ASAP. All right. So I will start with very quick introduction of each of them. Quick introduction, starting with Eric. Eric, are you still on the call? I thought I saw Eric. I can't find Eric again. Eric, if you're with me, can you unmute yourself? I saw him at the beginning of this session. Maybe it dropped. But while I'm finding Eric, Timmy, if you're happy, can you quickly, introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself. Interestingly, how you started this journey in 3 minutes quickly, and then I'll move it to another person. Timmy, over to you now.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you very much, Itayo, for that brief introduction. So I'm Timmy. I'm a product designer anyway. Just let me call myself a product designer. At across the horizons technologies. I work for about 4 different companies at the same time anyway. So as senior, I'm product, head of products for iTable also. But my journey into, should I say, product design itself just came, should I say, by luck, I guess, right? I came into Lagos in 2018, and then I was just writing, I think just learning how to write code, right? Because after having my electrical engineering bachelor's degree, it was kind of like either working for NEPA or some other engineering company, right? And I needed something with a little more flexibility. So by chance, I just started about product design, where definitely you don't need to write code, but then you can create amazing architecture for applications and change people's lives through just coming up with like amazing designs that are usable by the users, right? And then I decided to take a course, right? And then from there, it has just been amazing. And over here at Utiva, what we do is we are kind of like a community, and basically what we do is just bring people together, give them skills and even after you've learned your skills, we're always there for you to, I guess, keep pushing the envelope, right? You need any advice at almost any point, we become kind of like a family. So even when there are job vacancies that I feel might work for like a student or something, I send it out to the guys, and then you apply and try your at least try your hands at the task that is sent to you. So welcome to this experience. I'll be here to answer all your questions, and looking forward to having a great interaction with you guys. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Timmy, that's quite very fantastic. And remember that Timmy also mentioned that this is like a community, this is like a family. Timmy has been a part of this family. I think Timmy now earns the role of a grandpa, in this family. He's been around for a very long time, helping us, to learn, helping us to get better, helping a lot of people to learn technology skills. And Timmy, thank you so much. I think I'll quickly take it to Ghalib. Ghalib, how are you doing this morning? Do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Thanks, yeah. So my name is Ghalib. Yeah. Started my journey into tech about a decade now. I think, yeah, it's almost a decade. Right. I mean, but officially, I started with Standard Bank in Nigeria, which is what you know as Stanbic, as a systems engineer. I went through the graduate training program, of course, but then my interest has always been in IT, and the bank recognized that very, very early. So I was pushed even through my graduate training program. I worked mostly in the IT department. Afterwards, so I joined full-time the pension arm as a systems engineer. From there, I moved into Accenture, where we used quite a lot of technology, working with people in the finance and the telecoms industry. And then I got my master's also in IT. My background initially was in computer engineering. So having spent quite a number of years in the IT space, I was inclined to go for a master's in information and systems technology. And then I joined OpenFactor Group as the infrastructure lead for the cloud computing space. And my journey has been it's been interesting. As an infrastructure engineer, I would say I've been privileged to work with almost all areas of IT. And why I say that, because whatever you do in the IT space has to sit on an infrastructure, whether it's a server, whether it's a database. These days, we make use of containerization technology now. So you're talking about your Docker Swarm and your Kubernetes clusters and all of that. So in terms of your knowledge base when it comes to cloud computing and infrastructure, it has to be very broad. So there is constant upskilling, constant learning things you've even learned before that you probably have forgotten. And so it's quite a challenge for people that love to challenge themselves. I would say cloud computing and infrastructure is a very, very challenging space. And if you are that kind of person that loves challenges, it's a very good place for you to venture into. In terms of my journey with Utiva, I would say I'm still an infant with Utiva, right? I mean, I joined the Utiva community about some months ago when Utiva reached out to me. But I will tell you one thing about Utiva is because it's a community and it's the way it's being managed is like brothers, like familiar relationship, right? I would say you have all the help that would allow you to excel in the tech space, depending on the particular area of focus that you choose, whether it is product management, data analytics, or even if it's programming. And all of that. So I would say if you're just joining into tech, or even if you've been into tech and you want to learn something or to upskill yourself and enhance your skill, starting with Utiva is a very good place to start. And then we would guide you as the faculty on the kind of skills you need to have and how to proceed in your tech journey. So there is this constant guidance and counseling that happens before, during, or even after your certification course with the Utiva faculty. I think I was. Yeah.
Absolutely. GB, are you on the call? Okay, I just want to be sure that GB is on the call.
Yes, I'm on the call.
I can't hear you well. I don't know if GB, can you first, I will come back to you. Can you first rename yourself well? Because I'm just struggling to identify even if I'm with the right GB. But let me quickly go to Patrick. Patrick, are you also on the call with us? Mic check. Okay. I think that we will just get started with because I'm struggling to find the name, of the, if you are, please, if you are on the call, Eric, I want to quickly identify you. You have to name yourself appropriately so that I can find you. Then Bumi, if you're also, sorry, Bukola, if you're also on the call, I'm struggling to find your name. I don't know if you are the right one, but the Bukola I have here is supposed to be Bukola Odunyemi. And then GB also, Patrick, I'm struggling to find you guys. If you guys are on the call, please name yourself appropriately. And then I will, unmute you and give you and bring you right here. But let's quickly start with Timmy. Chibi and Chidozie, I can't. Please, guys, if you are on the call, you need to name yourself the right way. You need to name yourself the right way so that I can find you among the 200 people that we have on the call. But let me quickly go to Timmy. Timmy, how easy is it to get into product design? And what do product designers, what do they really, really do? I think I finally found Bukola. But before you go, Timmy, let me quickly make Bukola co-host. Bukola, can you come straight to the stage here and introduce yourself? I'm so excited to find you finally, Bukola. Hi, Buki.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. See, I've been calling you Buki, calling you Bukola. Thank you for joining us today. Can you quickly introduce yourself in 3 minutes and tell us how you found yourself in product management?
Wow, thank you. First, thank you for the opportunity. This is the first time I'm mentoring with Utiva, and I'm excited to be here. So, like a lot of other product managers out there, I got into it by mistake. So I read mass communication in the university, and I really wanted to go into public relations. But then when I left NYSC, my first job was in a telco, a telecommunications company, and I was straight head-on in product management. So I was a product analyst, and at the time, so the business was not building anything in-house. We're just working with tech companies who had built products and wanted to increase acquisition for their products. So we would help them develop those products on the network and launch them. So basically that's the entire process of product management. And that was fun. I was able to work on really cool projects like Google career billing, direct career billing, Facebook's free basics, and did that for a while and left and went to product school to get certified as a product manager and product leader. Afterwards, I tried to float my own startup. It didn't work out. So I put that on hold and went back into the job market, got into fintech, and now I'm still in fintech. So it's been exciting so far, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. I am excited to have you here too. I will quickly popcorn it to Chidozie because finally I found him. It's quite very interesting how difficult it is to find people in a crowd of 230 persons. Chidozie, you're welcome. Do you want to quickly take the popcorn? Tell us a little about yourself and how you found yourself in tech as a data analyst. Mic check. Chidozie, you can unmute yourself now because I just made you co-host.
Hello?
Absolutely, I can hear you
now.
Yeah, absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, this is so awesome to be around here. Itayo. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you well. I can hear you
Okay.
well, 100%.
Okay, so Patrick is a physicist. I actually studied physics in the university. And when I was done, I knew that I wasn't going to practice what I learned in the university. So I started to check and research something that was going to make me use, because I'm analytic by nature. I love noticing things. I love seeing what everyone else doesn't see. So then I started researching and I stumbled upon data science, and then I didn't know how to start. But funny enough, I was in a job already where I was almost working with advanced Excel. So I when I was going to get overwhelmed by the whole stuff, Utiva came on board, and I would really recommend Utiva to anybody who is just, because this is a generation where we're almost suffering from information overload, because every click, everything you type on the internet, you get thousands and tens of thousands of results. So ours is a generation where if you're not careful, you would be a victim of information overload. So Utiva came on board when I was almost going to be swallowed by this sea of information, and then it's helped streamline my focus. And I can tell you that when I was done with Utiva, I wasn't the person I used to be anymore. So I actually learned a lot through Utiva. And after Utiva, I wasn't really doing a data analyst role, but then I started viewing the job I was doing then as a data analyst role. And I was coming with the mindset of a data analyst. And not long after that, I got a core data analytic role. This was due to the lessons I learned from Utiva. And I didn't just stop at what I learned. I went further, you understand, beyond what I was taught. And then I started practicing. And so that has led the way for where I am currently. And you see, we don't stop learning in this journey. We just keep learning all the way. So right now, I'm still looking forward to what the future holds. Thank you.
Absolutely, Patrick. Absolutely. I mean, I love the last line Patrick said, which is you can't stop learning, on this journey. You really need to continue to learn. You need to continue to learn. You need to continue to learn. I am still struggling to find, Benga, if you're on the call, I'm struggling here, but I don't mind, I will find you. But it's one certain question that I need to ask everyone on this panel, everyone. And I want to give you like 5 minutes each to answer the question. There's so many people on the call that are saying, okay, I've heard about data analytics, data science. I've heard about programming, software development, cloud computing, product design, and product management, right? Can you spend the first 2 minutes to talk about, what do you do in your role, right? I mean, I know there's a lot that you do, but 2 minutes to define, what do you do in your role? Day to day, what does it mean to be a software developer? What does it mean to be a cloud, engineer? What does it mean to be a product designer and a data analyst and a product manager, right? What does it mean, right? First 2 minutes. And then another 3 minutes to quickly talk about, of course, how did you get started? What were the first 3 steps that you took that got you to this point? And I will start this, with Ghalib. Ghalib, are you there? And Ghalib, please try a little bit to be audible so that we can hear you well. Ghalib, are you on the call?
Yes, I am. Let me just increase my volume. I think my volume is a bit low. Is it better now?
It's awesome. It's better now.
All right. So what do I do? Okay. For me, so cloud computing, let me start with cloud computing is a very, very broad space, right? It's not as focused as you would get in data analytics or some other tech area. So in cloud computing, you can have the infrastructure person. In cloud computing, you can have the cloud developer. In cloud computing, you can have the data engineering specialist, and you can have the security specialist, right? You can have all of that, just the same way you have different functions within your various organizations, IT, right? So for me, I play in the infrastructure space, right? And so what that means for me every day is working with databases and VM instances, which we call servers, right? Which you call your servers. And it comes from basically creating them to maintaining them to probably taking them offline. And because it's a cloud computing and it's a very, very elastic environment, so I can create an infrastructure today and delete it tomorrow once I've used it for the purpose I'm using it for. So your infrastructure can quickly scale to tens, to hundreds, or to thousands if you work for a very, very big company, right? And it can be like that. So for me, as a cloud solution architect and an engineer, so I double as a cloud solution architect and an engineer. And your architect, basically, I tell people architect is just your normal building architect. It's just to design. So a solution for people. So somebody says, I want to build this e-commerce website. So you're looking for the best solution to host that website in the cloud. So it's either you're suggesting you can use a VM instance that you would manage yourself and run 24/7, or you can use what we call like a app service plan on Azure, where you don't have to provision the servers yourself. You just deploy your code and the cloud computing service provider takes the rest from you. And all of that also goes into a monitoring platform, right? So in terms of how did I get started with it? So I've always been in the cloud computing since I started my journey with Standard Bank, right? Anybody that has read quite a bit about cloud computing, we know you will tell you that your virtualization technology is the precursor to cloud computing technology. So if you have a virtualized environment that you currently play in and you have very good knowledge of it right now, that's a very, very valuable knowledge that you can take into the cloud computing space. So prior to me actually getting certified and moving into cloud computing full time, I was already playing with virtualization technology every day at Standard Bank in Nigeria, which I did for about 3 years, right? So I know the ins and outs of network attached storage. I know the ins and outs of the virtualization technology of VMwares and how it works and all of that. So getting into cloud computing, while I was completing my master's, we've been introduced to quite a lot of, there was a particular course I took during my master's journey, which was current trends in IT. So during that course, we talked about all the new current trends and the future trends in IT. We're talking about cloud computing, data analytics, big data technology. We're talking about data science and all of that. And for me, because I had an infrastructure background and a bit of virtualization technology, I just decided there and then that after my master's, after I submitted my dissertation, I'm going to get certified in a cloud, get a cloud certification. And at that point in time, I was very used to Microsoft technology. So the first thing that came to mind is let's get certified on Microsoft technology, which is Azure, right? But down the line, 6 months after getting the certification, I realized that in the environment I play in, which is in South Africa, they have affinity towards AWS. And so I decided to go back again and get certified as an AWS solutions architect. And so by holding those two certifications, it was easier for me to get a job because quite a number of organizations here were already adopting cloud computing and they needed somebody with experience that can drive their department and that can drive their cloud adoption. So that's basically a brief summary of how I got into cloud computing. And the journey, I would say it's been it's been very, very interesting and very challenging for me because beyond your cloud computing skills, beyond the certification, there are other skills that are attached to your cloud computing. For example, if you create a Windows server on your cloud computing, no organization wants to go and get another Windows specialist to come and manage the operating system and the networking aspect of it, right? So beyond you knowing how to create VMs, delete VMs, create database, you also have to have the technical skills to manage those resources to a certain extent so that when you are being interviewed and they're asking you about some of this technology, you already have the requisite knowledge and then you have the cloud certification to be an engineer or to be a solutions architect, and you can combine that together and it becomes a unique skill that everybody is coming after, right? So let me just stop here.
Absolutely. I totally understand that. I will come back to you with one simple question. How do you encourage, or how do you advise, newbies? Because I know for certain that cloud computing, according to the UK Tech Talent UK Tech Nation, study last year, it's one of the skills that is on demand, increasing annually by 33%. Companies are looking for cloud engineers, cloud developers, cloud professionals. I'll come back to you with a question of what are the top 3 steps you would advise a newbie, a young person I want to get into tech to start with. But let me quickly go straight to Timmy. Timmy, over to you. What do you do on your role? And how do you advise young people to also get started? What are the steps? Timmy, over to you. Timmy, mic check. Oh, no. I want to be sure that Timmy can hear me. Okay. While I'm waiting for Timmy, I will just quickly go to Timmy. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I couldn't unmute myself before. Yes. Just let me. I think I'll just tell you the story like this. Like I think I'll just cover like a story line basically. So it was like back in the late 2000s, right? I was studying electrical engineering. Fine. So obviously, like I had aims of. I guess my aim has always been something related to design, right? Always wanted to design cars. For some reason, right? I loved the old Mercedes that our fathers had back in the days, right? So always wanted to design cars like that, always, use blade to cut papers out of stuff and paste them in my, little room back in the days. So fine. So I started using computers, I guess, in the university, right? And then I discovered something called Photoshop. Okay. So this was really interesting because Photoshop now distracted me totally from, the whole electrical engineering thing, right? Where, we're talking about a lot of things in thermodynamics, things in power, telecommunications, so many different algebraic situations and iterations and stuff like that, really a lot of electrical engineering stuff. So it was kind of interesting also, but then I don't know, the design element of visual things really just took my attention away from stuff. So I started doing a lot of graphics for so many different things, right? Music covers, events, all this stuff. And I was making little change from that. So I finished uni, right? For my electrical engineering and stuff like that, right? And it came to the time of NYSC, and I was teaching and stuff. I discovered I loved teaching, right? So some of my students back then was just people I just taught a little bit about Photoshop, anything I knew, right? I just kind of tried to teach outside the curriculum of school and wherever. So then skip again, right? And then we get to 2018, right? So it's 2016. I was thinking of a master's degree program, right? Should I still continue in electrical engineering, or should I just diversify and just look into something else? So my brother was just talking about software engineering. I was like, okay, software engineering. I think that seems interesting. I think I'll dive into the IT sector this time around. So while I was doing my software engineering or master's in software engineering, it was a lot of things in Java and all that stuff, right? And I really loved it for the most part, but then we're not building things that were visually, appeasing, right? It was just a lot of projects, papers, and stuff like that. So skip down to 2018, right? So I was already doing some websites, WordPress, some HTML, CSS, minimal portfolio websites. So then I was just in like this small office where I was getting paid like 20K a month, right? Just barely getting through, getting by basically. So someone was just talking about, UI, UX. And like, what is UI, UX, right? I don't even know what it means. And then the guy was like, UI, UX means user interface and user experience. So I was like, oh, brilliant. Like, this seems like something, since I know Photoshop and I do graphics on the side. Then I discovered, okay, UI, UX is not just graphics, right? It's a lot of thinking and, thinking of the user and so many other parts of things, right? Then I decided and say, okay, learning this thing on my own might be, how people are, right? When you try to learn stuff, at your own pace, sometimes your real life is just going to distract you from that. But then if you commit to a program, definitely you have to be in a class because you paid for it. So, I got together some money, right? Borrowed money and stuff, paid for the course, and then I started. And then before I even finished the course, I already got a job, right? In a job that was paying basically about ×5 of what I was already before, basically. So anyway, so fast forward from that job, I started doing like freelance gigs and things like that. And the good thing about UI UX is you don't need a lot to really get started, right? All you need is like the willingness to learn, right? And then secondly, like the ability to think, should I say, from the perspective of people's shoes, right? As a UI UX person, I always think of, the person listening to me now, right? Because as I am right now, I'm based on UI UX, because I needed to start with the story, and understand, just to keep you guys at least like seated and on board with what I'm saying, right? So why do UX means user experience? Your experience, deals with everything, right? There's an experience you get when you go home. There's an experience you get when you see your mom. There's an experience when you're using Instagram or whatever it is, right? Now, my job as a product designer is to think of the emotional side of things, right? And then attach, meaning to every little thing you see, right? Make sure any app that I'm designing brings value to you, the user, you understand, or to whoever the user is. Because you know how things are, if you go to the market today, right, and then you get like a great experience, maybe you buy something that tasted super good, right? Definitely when you get home or when you're talking to your friends, you are definitely going to recommend that to your friend, and then they go ahead and try it, and then they recommend. And word of mouth really does a lot. But now we are in the digital era where there are reviews online. People see reviews. If I see something 5-star, most definitely I'm probably going to download the application without asking too much questions. Because if I see like a lot of people rated an app 5-star, it means that application really brought some value to them, right? So now, my job, right, is now to make sure the company I'm working for, right, whatever product I'm designing for them brings that same value to them, right? So as a UX designer, let me just put in short, I am the middle point, right, between the business owners, right, and then the users. You understand? I'm that midpoint. So meaning the architecture of everything, falls on me. But then, developers obviously need to work after, I've done my part and all that stuff, right? But then, the business needs to get money, right? Because if people are not using an application, the business is not making anything, right? And, if the product is not working well also, the users are not gaining value. You will pay for something that gives you value. You buy food because, it keeps you alive, right? So, so basically that is just what I do, in my daily life. You're not sure.
Yeah, that's quite very insightful. I love the fact that you said you are the connection between what users want, and what the business wants, right? The business wants to make money, and the users need to get value. That is interesting from a much more product design perspective. I have GB on the call. GB is a software developer. I'd introduced him very early, but I'm quickly going to, ask him to quickly tell us a little bit about, what he does in 3 minutes, and how did you get into the software development space as a software engineer? GB.
Thank you very much, Atai. Good morning, everyone. My name is Olugbenga. Let's shorten it to GB, just for ease of pronunciation. So, as a software engineer, I'm currently studying an MSc software engineering in the UK, and before then, I used to be head of engineering at Tribl as a software engineer as well, primarily focusing on the infrastructure backend and ensuring that the app is properly built to scale and it meets business requirements. One of the things I used to do then is to manage the team, both the front-end engineers, the back-end engineers, the UI UX engineers, and also the DevOps engineers as well. So I would say that as a software engineer, I mean that a lot of progression. We start as you could, and there are lots of aspects of it. So it's been interesting for me so far. I got into the process by, should I say, it has always been a passion for me, right from since when I was really young. I used to see my father then, work with computers. He's a lecturer and he's also an accountant. So I used to see him use some software, and I always wanted to be able to create that kind of software. Then later on, I started playing games, and I loved the whole experience. You could press something on your computer, on your we call it joysticks, and you could control something on the TV. So that experience was amazing to me, and I felt like when I grew up, I should be able to build something like this. But unfortunately, while I was trying to get into school, I couldn't get a course in software engineering because they weren't just doing it in Nigeria back then. So I opted in for electronics engineering. Then I started doing embedded systems programming right from school. I couldn't really get a lot of career progression in that area. So I moved into web development and web programming. And I kept on doing that for over some time. And and it's been interesting. And at the end of the day, I realized that, the software engineering profession allows you to be able to solve problems if you look around you, especially in Nigeria, you would see a lot of things that needs to be solved that can be digitalized. And people are already, doing that already. It puts everything in your control. If you see that maybe the way we currently handle transactions, or the way we currently handle feeding in the house is not up to is not good enough, you could automate it. You could build a process around that to make it more interesting. So I mean, that has been the exciting thing for me about software engineering. First is more like actualizing my dreams. I've been able to eventually build stuff, build interfaces, build control them build stuff that could work on computer. So I mean, that's been that's been like the highlight of it for me so far.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, GB. Let's go to Bukola. Bukola, do you want to quickly run through, the steps you took that got you into product management, and also looking at the reality today? There's so many people on the call that would like to get into product management, to learn product management, to become product managers. What are your recommendations? You're a product leader, in this space. What would be your recommendations, to those that would like to be like you and come into the product management space?
Okay, so first I want to say it's the best career in the world, trust me. And yeah, it's the best career to transition into. Of course, I'm a little biased. So when people ask me, what do you do as a PM? And I say, okay, I build software products. And they say, okay, are you the one that does the coding? I'm like, no. Do you create the design screens? I'm like, no. So what do you do? And that can be hard to answer sometimes, because as a product manager, I am a jack of all trades. My primary responsibility is I represent the customer to the business. I define what should be built, right? Through identifying market opportunity, market research, creating documents that get stakeholders buying, etc. Right? But basically, you define what should be built. You define what problems that the business is to solve based on the business's OKR, or objective key results at the moment. Now, how did I start my career, or what steps did I take? So first of all, like I said, I got into a product role right from after NYSC. And I didn't even know that was what I wanted to do. I felt, what am I even doing here? Well, after a while, and because I'm a creative person, I like to bring things to life. After saying that, this profession empowers me to be creative, to build things that did not exist before, I sort of got into the flow, and I totally love it. So I think the first thing I did in this case would be the first thing I did to sort of progress in my career to get to the stage I am right now is that I did a retrospective in my career. So I sat down and I looked at what I do currently as a product analyst in my previous job, right? And I looked at what product management is globally. And then I saw gaps in my skills. I saw gaps in my knowledge. And I said, you know what? Because what I used to do then, I was not building things from scratch. So I would just build upon what has already been built, if that makes sense. I wasn't part of the problem space. I mean, the part where you identify the problem to be built, to be solved rather, where you identify the customers that you're building for, you understand their pain points, you know what gains you want to provide. I wasn't part of that. So I wanted to be. So the first thing I did was do a retrospective of my career. And then I saw the gaps. And then next, I took a certification. I went on to product school. I did some certifications there. And then I used that knowledge, the third thing, to build something. Because they always say that if you want to get into product management, build something. But then not everybody can code. Even if you're building something, it doesn't have to be a software-related product. It could even be selling something, identifying a problem that people have around you, and deciding to create a solution, maybe by selling, and then being able to define your success metrics. What does success, or what will success look like after I have sold this thing, in terms of acquisition, in terms of activation, in terms of revenue retention and referral, etc. So yeah, those were the 3 steps I took. I first did a retrospective on my career to say, what are the gaps? What do I want? How do I fill these gaps? And then I went on, I took a certification program that helped me to fill those gaps. And then I wanted to test my knowledge in what I had learned by going to build something. So those 3 steps actually helped me to progress faster and to earn better. Like I was able to 10x my salary in 1 year, basically. So those 3 things helped me.
Absolutely, Buki, absolutely. That's quite interesting. I like the way you were able to mention the 3 different steps. And I hope that others are also listening in, connecting with what these amazing guests are saying. Chidozie Patrick, I want to quickly take it on to you. What are the steps? I know you talked about, attending a particular training program, but what would you recommend today for a young person that want to get into the data analytics space? What would be your number 1, 2, 3, 4, steps that would get them into that space and help them, to secure an opportunity and a job, like you, Chidozie Patrick?
Thank you, Itayo. So first of all, you need to make the most of what you do right now, where you are. I mean by that, it means, sorry, I'm walking, so it means whatever you're doing right now, you just have to you do that aligns with the data analytics. So for myself, let me just use myself as an example. Okay. I discovered I was going to follow this path. The first thing I did was to brush up on my Excel skills. So what I did was I started improving on myself in Excel. It all started with Excel because I so much love Microsoft Excel. So I brushed up on my Excel skills. And then that was even before I joined Utiva. So I just kept on improving, started with the heat mapping, then I got to pivot tables. So a first step for anybody looking to get into this field is to really work on your Excel skills. And why I'm saying Excel is because it's readily available almost everywhere. So you just work on your Excel skills. Then secondly, Utiva is a great place to start. So when you're having a mindset of going into this field, at Utiva, you get most of the resources you need, and you get one-on-one contact with people previously in your shoes, and then they have gotten to where they are. So Utiva is a great place to also continue your learning. And also, what I also did when I was done with Utiva, I got to forage. I don't know if most of us have heard that before, but forage gives you the opportunity to learn, to do tasks that are being done by people in different companies. For instance, the BCG virtual program helps you actually do what data analysts who work at BCG do, meaning it's giving you on-the-job experience without a job. So that's a wonderful one in the sense that you actually get to learn firsthand. You actually get to learn firsthand from these professionals. And then you get assistance through these tasks given to you. And there's no way you wouldn't add value to yourself by doing all of these things. So how do you start the journey? Improve on your Excel skills, enroll with Utiva, and then after you're done with Utiva, don't just stop. Look for projects. Look for things you can do to enhance on your skills. And I just gave you a perfect example. Forage is one of them. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Chidozie. I mean, this is becoming very interesting. We've heard from Timmy, we've heard from Chidozie, we've heard from GB, from Bukola. Rick, I can't still find him. Quite very. I can't find Rick yet, but I just hope that if he's on the call, he might want to rename himself or raise up his hand, and then I'll be able to locate it. But there's one question I want to ask, and anyone can anyone among you can quickly jump in. For someone who does not have any form of technology background whatsoever, people that are coming from different industries, from different part of the value chain. For someone who is saying, "Oh, I don't have any experience at all in technology," how easy is it to get into this technology industry? And most importantly, how can you also build that industry reputation that will give you the opportunity to land a job? Anyone among you. And then after this question, I will certainly go to the chat room and look at the questions that people are asking and quickly start to read them out one after the other. Anyone?
Okay, I can take this one.
Absolutely.
So I would say, if you're currently in a company where they have a product management team, you might want to start from there. You have to shadow the product team. If possible, just attend the meetings when you're free. First of all, take your career as a project. Set a 1-year project and objectives and what you want to achieve and the timelines, and make sure the objectives are realistic for yourself, right? Attend these product management teams meetings, attend their scrum ceremonies, their backlog roaming sessions, their sprint planning, their daily stand-ups. Attend just to learn. After a period of time, you can then try to transition into that particular team, get a job in that team. And if you're in an industry if you're in a company where there's no product management department, then I would suggest that you find a job within your profession still, in another company or that has a product management team. For instance, maybe you were working in what example can I use? Let's say maybe a non-tech company, for instance, right? And then you try to get into a fintech, but still as a marketing analyst. Let's say you're a marketing analyst and you want to move into PM. So you could get into fintech, but still as a marketing analyst, and then start to take certifications, start to study the PM team, and find a way to enter into it. That's my advice for people with no experience at all that want to get into product management. And as I also said, as you are taking those certifications and you are adding to your knowledge, use that knowledge to build something. Even if you can't build anything, use that knowledge to contribute to meetings. When you go to these product management meetings, use that knowledge to add an impact. That would really help, and that would get people to notice you, and then you can land your first role as either an aspiring product manager or as a product manager. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for that. There are a few questions that I'm beginning to see here. But before then, someone is saying, are product designers the same thing as UX, UI, UX designers? Timmy, you might want to quickly answer that. But while you are trying to answer that, someone also asked Ghalib a question saying, what are the steps, that you think a novice, someone who doesn't have any form of background experience, can take to get into cloud computing and become an expert like you? So I will take Timmy first, then from Timmy, I'll take Gabi. From Gabi, then Gabi, you can also, sorry, it's like Gabi. Ghalib, you can also, sorry, Ghalib, you can also answer the question, how lucrative is cloud computing in the US and some other developed economies, So Ghalib, those two questions are for you, but let's quickly take Timmy first and then we go to Ghalib.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I saw the question also and I was very intrigued. I think this is a very, very common question, that we get. So product designers, right, are, people with like a lot more responsibility than the UX designers. Right now, the product designer does a lot more. Product designer feels like he's more of like the owner of like the product itself, right? The entire process, from the research, from the, conducting all the research, user interviews, to ideating, to, the actual design itself, right? And then testing, and even after testing, right? The product designer still does a little bit more, like looking into things like, the analytics of how the app is performing in store after it has been launched, right? And then mitigating for things like, okay, let's say, you're looking at analytics and then you discover maybe a particular service or a particular page is being interacted with more than some other pages, right? Your job as a product designer is to look at that and say, okay, analytics will tell you all these things basically. So your job is to look at that and say, yes, we need to improve on these ones, and then you need to go back, right? Create like an updated design, right? You are doing user experience design also. But now, you are taking more ownership of that product itself, right? Thinking of the success of that product, what is happening in the future, right? And then, you are creating new updates, to like the user interface, to the user experience also, and, to making those changes. Now, the UX designer, of course, there are so many roles under the, product design. There's even the UI designer, right? The UI designer is just somebody who designs just the user interface, collects data from the, from the UX research, right? And then just does the user interface, something that looks beautiful. Now, the UX designer is somebody who will think of functionality over, beauty. You understand? The UX designer will first think of, how will I make sure that this app, right, with the minimal amount of things that we can put on this, design on this screen, brings value to the users, right? Maximum efficiency, the lowest amount of clicks to get users from the point of wanting to do something to the point of like achieving, their goal, right? So the UX designer, does that, and, should I say, there's always like quality assurance guys that come in and then, run, they critique the design and all those things, right? To ensure that the user experience is optimal. But really, so you can say that, so the UX designer, right, usually ends, I guess, starts, at a point where it's not even fully, their job to research, right? But then they can do that research also, right? And then with that information, design, right? The product designer does far more than that, right? Takes ownership of the application, after, people like Bukola who are our product managers, right? They run the whole entire thing, right? But then the product managers are kind of like a close second, so, and it's kind of easy for product designers, right, to transition into product management because they tend to shadow the product managers more, you understand? So that's just basically that.
Yeah, I like the last point you mentioned, Timmy. Before I push it to Ghalib, I like Timmy's last points. And that is the beauty of being in the technology industry, because the skills are very transferable. It's easy to move around, especially if you're a very flexible person. So it's so easy to become a product manager from being a product designer. Why? Because you must have job shadowed the product manager and see the entire, process and the systems that makes a product manager a product manager. Ghalib, over to you here.
Thanks, Tayo. So I would pick, there are quite a number of questions has been directed to me, so I'll pick them one after the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for newbies that want to get into tech, this is generally speaking, not cloud computing, right? What I always advise is, in any job you are currently in now, you have your hard skills and your soft skills. You have hard skills like, this is generic, if I'm a driver, I need to learn how to drive, right? Your soft skill is you have relationship, relationship management, you can talk to the people you are driving and stuff like that. So I always tell people to take a peek on your hard skills and your soft skills. Look at the tech job that you're aspiring to do. Do a sort of comparison between the hard skills and the soft skills of that tech job and the soft skills and the hard skills you currently have. If there is an intersection, that is a very good place to enter into tech. And then you can start building your career from there. So if you are a salesperson that loves talking, maybe a product manager is the best place for you to start, because you do a lot of interaction and relationship together with your hard skills that you learn as a product person. Whereas if you are just an implementer, maybe a systems analyst or a systems engineering will be suited for you. And so that's about a quick information of how you can identify how you want to get into tech. In terms of the 3 steps to becoming a cloud computing expert, again, like I said, cloud computing is a is one of the broadest technology domain that you have right now, because it covers from programming to database to your core infrastructure, networking, security, and all of that, right? So if you are in a specific domain in IT currently, let's say security, maybe a security specialized certification in cloud, one of the cloud computing service provider is best for you, so that you can port into cloud computing, and then you can start looking for various security measures that you can apply to a cloud computing environment. However, if you have no experience in terms of IT or tech, right? Again, and you've chosen cloud computing as a domain you want to venture into, right? So I always thought, again, look at the skills you have, and then do a bit of a research about the different cloud computing jobs out there. So there are cloud computing database specialty, there are cloud computing core infrastructure, there's cloud computing developer, and all of that. Look at which skills matches to your skills, because at that point, it makes it a bit easier to kind of upskill yourself and to do your continuous improvement from there on. That is one aspect of getting into tech. The other aspect is look at a job that you love in the cloud computing space. Oh, this is the job I want. Then, like Bukola said, look at the requirement. When you look at the requirement tells you the kind of skills you need to get and the kind of certification you need to get. Then you can do a plan, an outline to say, over the course of the next 6 months, this is how I plan on getting all of these skills or all of this certification. And then you stay true to the plan. And then, God willing, by the time you execute your plan, or even before you finish executing your plan, you can get an offer to say, come and join us. We are transitioning into cloud computing, and then you are going to, get hired and get the experience on that. One core thing not to throw away when it comes to cloud computing is practice. As with other aspects where you have where you do hands-on experience in data analysis, product management, in cloud computing, quite a number of people tend to do away with actually doing the practicals. And what I mean is by creating an account on the specific cloud computing service provider and actually do what you are, as you are reading, there are practicals that you have to perform. Don't just go with your gut knowledge or you feel you understand it, because in doing practicals, you learn more. So create that VM, create that database, create that Amazon SQS, create those networks and the subnets and all of those things. And then by the time you are done, even if it's just 6 months, you are in a better position to tell an employer that, look, I have hands-on experience in this cloud computing space for the past 6 months. That is all I've been doing, the morning, afternoon, and night. It's easier to sell that than just saying, I have a certification in cloud computing, because as an employer, I'm going to ask you, so what have you done? Even though you have the certification, what have you done? And then you can be able to say, I've done 1, 2, 3. So the 3 basic steps are easy. Locate the job you want, filter out the skills and the certification required, and have a plan and work towards that plan. How lucrative is cloud computing? Like Hitaya said, from Tech Nation, cloud computing is one of the, if not the highest, one of the in-demand job currently globally, right? Globally, even in South Africa where I am, we are highly sought after. However, you have to also specialize first, right? That's what I tell people. So I'm not somebody that subscribes to getting 11 cloud certification or getting 20. I'm one that said, get this one cloud certification, get hands-on experience, deepen your knowledge in it, and then you have employers reaching out to you, not you applying for jobs now. You have employers reaching out to you because you have that cloud certification on your portfolio and telling you, okay, we need somebody for so. Have you done this? Have you done that? And then you can kickstart the conversation from there. Again, in terms of getting certified, I advise people to target the top 3 cloud computing service provider in the world, which is Amazon, Azure, and Google. Please tailor your certification to those top 3. Really, I said top 2, just tailor it towards Azure and AWS. In terms of knowledge, your knowledge is portable. So whatever knowledge you have on AWS or Azure, you can port it over to Google Cloud Computing, because cloud computing is a concept that each cloud provider are implementing in their own different ways. I hope I've been able to answer most questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's quite very, very, very easy to understand. Thank you for making it so easy to comprehend. I want to quickly go to GB. I see a lot of people asking questions about, programming. Do you need any programming language? What kind of programming language should you start with? Someone asked another question and said, I have learned, with the basic HTML, CSS, JavaScript, what should be the next step? GB, do you want to quickly jump on that? How do you think someone with zero knowledge of, programming that wants to be like you, how do you think they should approach their career? How should they start? And when they've started, what should they, take note of? What should they never forget? What principles got you to this point? What are the step-by-step processes that you took that got you to this point? GB, over to you. And when I'm done with GB, I will ask everyone on the panel, including, Patrick, today, the people that you have been coaching over time, what are the major pitfalls or pitfalls that you've identified? What kind of mistakes do you think people make, in their career as they journey to becoming product designers, cloud engineers, cloud architects, product managers, data analysts? But GB, I will pass it on to you right now. Okay. I have to make you permanent co-host so that you're able to mute yourself. Okay, can you do that right now?
All right, thank you. I've been able to.
Yeah.
All right. So the first question was what? Okay. So the question was that after learning HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, like what's the next step? Before I answer that question, I would like to say that as a software engineer, it is important, or it is ideal to identify the different, should I say, specializations in that particular field. So if you want to be a software engineer, well, you might want to identify that there are different aspects of being a software engineer. You could be specialized in front end, you could be specialized in the server API implementation. Although eventually who you want to be is that person that can solve problem regardless of wherever stack or whatever whatever stack that you're required to work on. You should be that person that could either work on the front end or the back end, as the case might be. So starting with HTML, CSS, JavaScript is a good step, which is nice. So one thing you want to be able to do is, okay, as a web developer or as a web application developer, you want to ensure that you are trying to build something with what you've learned, because I can assure you that if you study HTML, CSS, or JavaScript in 3 months, for example, and you feel a little bit comfortable, if you leave it after 3 months or 2 months, you might not remember anything again. So constant practice is very important. So you need to give yourself a pet project to work on. Then after you've been able to, with that, you would identify a lot more issues or a lot more areas where you need to improve, because if you try to work on a real life problem or a real life project, you would realize that there are some things that you didn't even know about while you were trying to study these things. And so once you're able to get a good grasp of that, then the next thing would be to, you could start thinking of frameworks like React or JavaScript, because those things could make you, accomplish what you want to do faster. But I would always say that before you start learning frameworks, it is always, interesting or ideal to learn the fundamentals of the things that you are working with. Then, well, with that, then you can start to take up internships, or to after you've done projects of your own, project that you've that's given you hands-on experience on, for example, how to build a web page, a dynamic web page that does something, then you can start thinking of applying for internships, or where you could it's optional. If you want to work on projects on your own and you think you're comfortable watching videos or attending training programs until you get very much confident with what you're doing, that's fine. But the internships usually gives you the work scenario experience. It's because as a software engineer, the other thing you also need to identify is that it's not only about your technical abilities. You also need to be able to work with a team or work in a team. You need to be able to work as an individual contributor, and also should be able to work as a member in a team. You need to be able to work with a UI UX designer. You need to be able to work with project managers. You need to be able to understand software engineering processes and so on. And so that's explained. I mean, that I think I've been able to answer. I think that's how I would can answer that question about what's the next thing to do after learning HTML and CSS. And to answer the question on generally how can I enter the software engineering space without prior software engineering experience? I would like to build on existing advices from my colleagues. Just like they've said, the best thing is to first identify your strength, know which area you think you are, align your personal interest and strength, things that you know how to do with what you want to do. So sometimes you might think that you want to get into IT, but software engineering might not necessarily be that part that you should be in. You might be, and even if software engineering happens to be, if it's so much that you have passion for it, you can. And so there are some people that, for example, for myself, I started as a software engineer, and I realized eventually that I like working on the back end more than on the front end, not because front end is hard, or not because it's hard, or not because it's simple, but because I like to work more on things like around the servers. I just developed that interest while working on it. So it is also important that you identify your strengths while you are working, while you're in this as you progress in that in the field. So overall, I would just like to pin it all down into two things really. The first thing is passion, and the second thing, you need to keep your passion moving on. So that's what will, because there might be sometimes where you become just exhausted and you feel like, okay, I think I can't do this anymore. But that passion has to that's what will keep driving you to want to do more. And even when maybe when you get scenarios where you need to do things I'm just saying, for example, maybe for free, it's your passion that will keep you moving on, then till where you start getting reward for your hard work. Then the other thing is like my colleagues have said earlier, second thing is identify your strengths and ensure that you align your strengths with your passion. So that's that's how I think I would summarize the whole things that you the two things that you need. Then other things are mostly about doing the work. That is getting yourself a project to work on, and ensuring that you keep up with the projects, and studying, ensuring that you study the things, the fundamentals of what you want to learn, like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Those things are fundamentals. And in terms of choice of stack, I wouldn't say that whatever stack you choose it actually depends on what sometimes the choice of stack is not necessarily, oh, this is the stack that you should use. But of course, you need to look at the market value of the stack that you're working with, but ensure that whichever stack you decide to go with, stick with it at least for the first 1 or 2 years till you become an expert. And be an expert of a stack is better than just having brief knowledge of several stacks. So know one stack very well. If it's JavaScript that you want to learn it and ensure that you learn it to the expert level. Once you are able to do that, it's always transferable. Learning other things like Java, learning other languages like Python would come easily for you. Yeah, so that's my brief. That's how I think I can address that question.
Yeah. Thank you so much, GB. And I see people admiring what you're saying and people accepting, agreeing with you. Rebecca says thanks for the question, well answered. Fabian says thanks, GB. Zara, notice Zara was nodding all through. What I'm going to do is this. I really want you guys to talk about, the pitfalls, the challenges, the mistakes, the common ones that you've seen people make. Because of course, Patrick, I know you have supported a few people. Bukola is a recognized, celebrated, figure in the product leadership space, product management space. One of the things I have been screaming a lot about is the power of people that don't talk a lot on LinkedIn, but they're doing their things and they're killing it. And that's what Utiva really represents. GB is a very respected, tech leader, was given a scholarship by one of the biggest banks in the UK, I think Santander, I hope I'm correct. Timmy has been training for almost forever. You heard him himself say that he loves training. He has trained over 1,000 persons. Ghalib is a leader in the space. Ghalib has been in this space, supporting a lot of people, and most importantly, well celebrated, in the technology space, especially in the cloud computing space. But I know that you guys know common mistakes that people, make as they move, along, move through their career. But what I want to do is this. I want to read at least 10 to 15 questions so that while you are responding to the common mistakes, you can also respond to any of the questions that you find, that you need to quickly respond to here. Okay, so someone, I think Olawale was saying that, so what skills and tech will you advise one to learn that doesn't require coding? I think, Timmy, you might want to answer that. Bukola, you might want to answer that as you respond to your questions. Chidozie, Patrick, you might also want to respond to that. Another person says, what are the necessary stacks and the frameworks that are common in the startups environment? Kauta says, I have been in digital marketing. I have experience in digital marketing. Is it a strong part of technology? What do you think about the future of digital marketing? If anybody wants to jump into that. Does Utiva offer cloud computing training? Of course we do. We have a 4-month intensive cloud developers program. I want to quickly pick a few more questions. What is the difference between BI analyst, that's business intelligence analyst, and data analyst? Patrick, you might want to answer that when you're responding to the common mistakes. I currently work as a technical solution analyst, but I'm very interested in DevOps. I've done a bit of courses here and there. I'm looking for an unpaid internship. What would be your recommendation? What do you think this person can do? Do you need any programming language to thrive and become successful as a cloud expert? Ghalib, you may want to take that when you are also taking your questions. Then another interesting question someone asked is the difference between product management, product design, product owner. What are the differences? Okay, who wants to go first among my guests? Who would like to go first? These are questions that people are throwing at you. But of course, the common theme here is I want you guys to really talk about, the common mistakes you think people make when they're trying to set up their career in this space. Who would like to go first?
Hi. Yeah, I think I'll just go first. So I think the question about, what, you can go into that doesn't require coding. Like I think there are so many things you can do that doesn't require coding, right? In the technology space. There's product management, like Bukola said, right? It's something that even if you are trying to get into it now, you probably have something you're doing right now. It's very important to, take a step back, and really do like a deep dive into yourself, right? And then, should I say, go out there and then see requirements for, becoming a product, manager, or, like all these responsibilities, requirements, check out all these vacancies. Those things usually kind of guide you to know exactly the kind of skills to learn, even no matter what it is, so even if you're going to be a developer or being this, right? like LinkedIn, like daily, like we get like job, like job postings like that. I just posted 3 hours ago, 2 hours ago, and there are like jobs like that every single day. So you can go in there, look at a lot of these things and also think, right, what do you think fits, your type of person, right? What do you think fits your personality? Me, I've always known I've loved design, which was why design was a no-brainer for me, right? So product design doesn't require you to, write code as well, right? Product management does require you to write code. Your digital marketing doesn't require you to write code, you understand? Things like copyright, because there are copywriters also, in this space, right? So people who like write copies for, so there's something called UX copywriter. So that's like a sub, genre under the product design, this thing, right? And those guys, all they do is just write, copy, text, all these terms and conditions and stuff like that. They come up with all those things, and then the designer adds it to the design, right? So those are things that don't really, so there are like a lot of roles that don't require you to code, but you need to do some research and find out what might be good for you. And then when it comes to common pitfalls, right? From what I've witnessed and I think what I've experienced myself, right, is when you are starting out, you always think, because I've noticed that in a lot, even I myself, I'm kind of like a perfectionist. I kind of like to see something I've done, right, in the light of, oh, this stuff looks beautiful, people are going to love it, right? You never know what people will love, right? And you never know the kind of value that your, should I say, your skills really, might bring until you actually go out there, apply for these jobs, right? Take a chance, understand, like look at, all these requirements and do a little bit of skilling up, right? Because every time there's always something new coming up, right? Now it's the metaverse, right? Next, there's the Web 3.0. There's so many things, always coming up, in, should I say, in the tech space. And you need to, keep yourself updated. But then remember, while you're keeping yourself updated, don't, forget that you need to, stick. I think Chidozie was the one that said that, right? He said you need to, should I say, specify and, focus and become like a master at, a particular stack or like whatever craft that you are into, right? Before you start thinking of, diving into something else. Because everything basically relates to each other. You understand? Everything relates into each other. And, doing that, specifying, because I was initially, writing code, right? And then at the same time I was designing. Then at some point I was doing product management and stuff like that. Then I had to take a step back and think to myself, okay, I think I need to calm down a bit, right? Master this product design thing, and then, start, should I say, diversing into other things, that I feel okay. So now that I'm kind of like a master of product design, I feel like product management might be the next step, right? Or I could feel, okay, maybe I want to become a software engineer. It's something I can pick up on the side. But then at the same time, my product design skills are already, top par. And then I know any task that comes to me it's not really a problem because, I stay updated and I'm generally a master at that, you understand? So my advice is just make sure you, should I say, perfect one thing before you start jumping into other things. And also think about yourself, right? Who are you? What works for you? And are you sure coding is what you want? You want to write code? Then really focus on what you want to do in that area, right? And if you are sure you don't want to write code, maybe it's things, design related or things that deal with like research. There's user experience research. It's just a role for people who just go in, do like a lot of research and, find out things, you understand, about the potential users, you understand? That's also another role that doesn't even require you to design at all. Just conduct research and, just analyze data from there, you understand? So there are so many roles that don't require you to exactly, write code or even design sometimes.
Okay, I'll move it quickly too. Thank you so much, Timmy. Thank you as usual. Timmy broke it down. Bukola, do you want to quickly go? After Bukola, we'll move it to Ghalib, and then Ghalib, and then we move it to GB.
Okay. Hi again. So Timmy has really said it all. And I guess what I'm going to add here is, over the course of my career, I've seen quite a number of CVs for aspiring product managers, and they do not state outcomes. So you say you worked on so and so. And that's it, no outcome. By outcome, I mean, what was the impact of the work that you did? What was the impact in terms of acquisition for the business? That's in your current role, right? In terms of revenue, how did what you worked on, how did it help how did it help the business to meet their objectives? So I've seen a lot of CVs like that with no outcomes at all. They just say, oh, I built such and such. I worked on this and this, and they don't even state the outcome. And when you're writing outcomes, you have to use data. So what percentage, how did it work out? It's very, very important, because most times when I see such CVs and they're trying to apply for a role that I'm supposed to be leading the interview session, I just reject them, really, because you have to be able to state your outcomes. So that's one. And then secondly, not being intentional about your career. And I see that a lot with Nigerians and young people. They just wait for the company. It's like they've put, when the power is in your hands to change your own life by yourself, you now put that power in the hands of your company, waiting for a promotion, waiting for such and such to happen. No, treat your own career as a project. Treat your own life as a project. Set goals and be intentional about meeting those goals. You're the only one basically responsible for your growth. You're the only one responsible for your growth, not your company, right? So you have to be more intentional about your career. And then I think there was a question that somebody asked about the difference between product managers and project managers. So basically, project managers are like the owners of the process. They own the schedule. They ensure that the team is on track and they meet their deadlines. Obviously, they work with product managers and on the other cross-functional teams, but they are the masters of schedules and Gantt charts, but they do not represent customers. The product manager is the one that is the voice of the customer to the business and really wants to solve this. In fact, your biggest skill, I think are your soft skills as a product manager, because it's communication, empathy, curiosity, really caring about customers to know what exactly their problems are, and creatively working with a team to build solutions to those specific problems. That I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Bukola. Thank you. Quickly go to the next person. I think that is GB, and then we round up with Patrick. Common mistakes.
All right. So what I've noticed, thank you for that question. I think most of the questions most of the things I could think of have been outlined already by the previous speakers. But very specifically, as specific to software engineering, one of the common mistakes I've noticed is not having passion or not being passionate about what you are doing. Software engineering or software coding in specific is very should I say it requires a lot of determination. It can be tiring, so you might end up finding yourself, let's assume that you're working in a company and it's 9 to 5. Most of the time you might find yourself not being able to work between 9 to 5 because you don't have proper time management. So time management skill is very important. You need to be able to manage your time appropriately. You need to be able to communicate. Don't try to, should I say, impress. So if let's say you're working in a professional setting and you're able to get some tasks to work on, and you feel like, okay, this I can't finish this by Friday. Let's say Friday is the end of the sprint, for example. You don't necessarily have to. You need to be able to communicate that with your manager. That's why I said initially that you need to be able to work in a team. You need to be able to understand how to work in a team. And also, one thing I also noticed is that most engineers, personally, I made that mistake initially. I don't work with a goal in mind. So if I have a task, I don't know what's the goal of what I'm working on. I need to be able to set a goal. If I'm going to work on a task, there should be a goal. Okay, at the end of this, and when I'm done with this particular task, I should be able to say that, okay, this has been checked, this has been checked, and this has been checked. That if you're able to if you're able to align yourself with a goal, it will help you to be able to estimate your task appropriately, to be able to manage your time appropriately, and to be able to identify issues and communicate them as soon as they show up. And those are the things that you learn as you move from a junior developer to a more senior developer. And eventually, it will. I mean, it's going to really help you to be able to perform appropriately in whatever you are doing as a software engineer. Well, so apart from that, one of the mistakes that people tend to make is not being able to communicate properly within a team. So sometimes I notice that there's this kind of competition that some people tend to want to do. Oh, I'm better than you. But really, I think everyone should, as an engineer, you should be able to learn. You should be willing to learn from others, and you should be able to know how to give feedback appropriately, because when you work with team members, you would realize that there will be scenarios where you need to review other people's work and other people need to review your work. And when you do that in a more where I've worked with, we call it ask. Your feedback needs to be actionable, specific, and kind. That way, you'll be able to communicate your feedback effectively, as opposed to when you see something, oh, this code looks like this is nonsense. Why would you write something like those kind of statements are not appropriate for when working with team members. So I mean, primarily the thing is learn how to work with other people. That's one mistake that people I notice that people do make. They don't know how to work with other people. They just want to be the one working on stuff, hide stuff, things that you can actually share with others so that you can get feedback to even be better. And also, the last thing I would like to mention, one of the mistakes that I noticed that a lot of people make is not wanting to ask questions because they feel they know, or maybe sometimes it could be because they are scared, and sometimes it could be because they feel that they know it all, so they don't think they should ask questions, so they keep wasting time till it's too late. So asking questions is, I think it's a very good skill to have. You should be able to know when to ask questions and know how to ask questions when you are not clear on requirements. That way you are saving yourself time, and yes, you're also saving other people the time too as well. You're helping. At the end of the day, like I said, the goal is not for you it's not for you to write 1,000 lines of code, but the goal is for you to write code that works, that meets specification. Then finally, I think the last thing I would have loved to talk about is the point of developing yourself. So, for example, for me, while I was working, I identified the parts in my career where I thought that I needed. So I had a bachelor in electrical electronics engineering, and I realized that there are a lot of things, even though I've been able to learn over the years as an experienced software engineer, I felt like there are some things that I think I still want to learn, and that was why I took a step back to take a break from work, then come back to school to get myself up to par on some other aspects. So be able to identify, you should learn how to, know how to identify when you need to learn. In my own scenario, it's going back to school to learn some fundamentals. In some other cases, it could be some other things. So prepare yourself for the next level. Always be your career is in your hands. Always take that initiative to learn. Want to learn more, want to know more, especially about what you are doing, so that you can stay relevant. Because in the past, in so many years ago, a particular technology was in vogue. You see people writing Fortran, people writing all those old languages. I'm not saying they are still relevant right now, but you wouldn't easily get a job with Fortran in this present time. So you need to be able to keep up to date in whatever you are doing. Yeah, so that's those are the mistakes that I feel like people do make, and I think it would be nice if, I mean, other things have been mentioned already by my colleagues, but so yeah, that's what I would like to say.
Oh, interesting. Thank you, GB. Thank you. That's very, very interesting. Let's quickly popcorn it to Patrick, and then, it's been a very interesting one. Then we'll round up from here. Patrick, over to you, please. Common mistakes that you've noticed that people make. Okay, let's be sure that Patrick is on the call again with us. Patrick, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, clearly.
Absolutely, great.
Okay, some of the common pitfalls I've noticed over time. Sometimes people don't get to start with the basics. When I say the basics, people tend to overlook Microsoft Excel. I've been to interviews where some persons were actually embarrassed because they didn't know certain things could be done with Microsoft Excel.
I agree with you.
One of the pitfalls, thank you. So one of the pitfalls to avoid is not to overlook Excel. And also, it is also good to start with the foundation in relation to Excel. So it's good to start with Excel, and then you proceed to the SQL, the structured query language, either MySQL or PostgreSQL. It's good to take it one at a time. Then also, after that, then you may consider choosing between the R programming or Python programming language. I personally work with Python. So you could decide on which of them to go with. But trying to learn Python before going to SQL could really cause some hard bonds. I don't know if you might understand that. Then also, another common pitfall to avoid is not to ignore your communication skills. For instance, you'll be working with data. As a data analyst, I work with data. Sometimes this data, you spend a huge chunk of the time trying to clean them up. We call them data wrangling. So now when you do all of this on a daily basis, and at the end, you need to present your findings to management, you should be very careful not to bamboozle them with too much technical jargons, meaning you need to work on your communication skills as to be able to properly present your findings in a manner that will be very well understood by those you're presenting it to. Meaning you don't just go to a setup and then start telling them things about data modeling, the ETL, and all of that. They might not really understand you. So why going into this data analyst, working as a data analyst, or you're a data analyst enthusiast, you need to have in mind that you need to work or improve on your communication skills. Very important. Another pitfall to avoid, I think that should be the final one on pitfalls to avoid, is not learning too many topics simultaneously. If you're going to stick to a particular tutor, you stick to him throughout. But then for proper understanding, you could go to other tutors to learn same topic. For instance, if you're learning a particular topic, you might consider learning that same topic from other tutors. But whereby you're learning this topic and then you're not done, you're going to learn another topic via YouTube, and then you're coming to Kaggle to do a different topic, it might really affect your understanding of those particular topics. So just try to be consistent with what you're doing. Try to follow through. Try to be disciplined in your learning approach. It is very vital. It gives you a wholesome comprehension. It helps you to understand properly some of those concepts and some of the things that could easily cause errors when you're working. So those are some of the common pitfalls to avoid. Try not to learn too many things at the same time. I do hope you understand what I'm saying. Then also, there was this question that was asked about the difference between a business intelligence analyst and a data analyst. So I'll be explaining that in a little way. And first of all, you can explain the differences in terms of the skills required to be a business intelligence analyst, and also in terms of the skills required also to be a data analyst. So for instance, to be a business intelligence analyst, you don't need to have Python skills. or R. Also, you don't need certain other things. The reason why you might not be needing some of these things is based on the nature of the job you'll be doing as a data analyst, and also based on the nature of the job you might be doing as a business intelligence analyst. So for a business intelligence analyst, you get to communicate business insights to management, decisions of, okay, we need to close down this store. Why is there a high level of turnover and there's a low turnover in this sector? So you communicate business insights. Take note of the word business. You communicate business insights to management, and management would look into these insights and take steps into addressing some of the issues based on the insights you're providing to them. So you might get to work with Tribl, you might get to work with ClickView, you might get to work with the Microsoft Business Intelligence software. So these are some of the things you will be working with as a business intelligence analyst. While on the other side, for a data analyst, you get to learn Python, you get to learn R, Python or R. Most times they are, you could pick one of them. I would recommend Python any day. Then also you get to work with other tools, the CWAY. Then also, there are certain ways you could actually also differentiate them. Most times when you get to, as a business intelligence analyst, the data you come in contact with most times are structured data already processed. And you get access to this data in data warehouses, like the Oracle database, like the SAP. You understand? So this data are already refined and processed. You don't get them in a raw form, meaning this business already, like for example, where I work currently, we have our data in the SAP. You understand? The systems, applications, and products. So we get this data already refined, suitable for our business needs. So when you want to give business insights, you understand, it is straightforward. You don't need to spend 70% of your time performing data wrangling or trying to clean up the mess in the data. You just go straight to work and then present your findings to management. But in the case of a data analyst, most times to get your data in different formats, you have to perform lots and lots of cleanup on your data to be able to, for it to be refined. So you could be able to, so most times a data analyst spends close to 70% of his time trying to clean up data. Because these data most times are in different formats. You get in the comma separated values, you get in Excel format, you get in different formats. So you need to put them in a format that is consistent with what you want to do. So this is another major difference between the business intelligence analyst and the data analyst. Okay, I think I've been able to do justice to that. Then finally, those of us that will be looking to go into the data analytical space, we shouldn't joke with platforms like the Stack Overflow, when you're stuck on a project, because in this journey there are pitfalls at almost every step. Like when I was going to start, just something as easy as installing a PostgreSQL had to take a lot of time and sweat for me to complete. So there are pitfalls, or there are obstacles more like in every step of the way. So being a member in a platform like the Stack Overflow would really help you scale some of these obstacles, because when you join, you get to see people that have told these parts before, and then perhaps encounter some of these same situations you find yourself currently, and then you could be able to pose questions to them, ask them questions, and then you see people willing to reply. So it's very vital you belong to these platforms. Kaggle also shouldn't be underrated. We can't overstate the importance of Kaggle, which I think is the biggest platform for data analysts and data scientists worldwide. And also don't forget to improve your GitHub. That's because when you tell an employer that you have done certain projects, they need to see these things for themselves. And there's no better way to showcase projects and things you've done before than in your portfolio, which GitHub is a wonderful place. And finally, Forage is a perfect place to express your creativity with in-house tasks. Aside platforms like this, you might not be able to get access to things like this. So I think these are some of the things we all need to be aware of as we delve into the data analytical space. Thank you for your time, and thank you for listening.
Awesome. Awesome. I mean, this has been very, very fantastic, gentlemen and ladies. This is where we're going to round up. I mean, there's so much to say, so much to learn, and thank you for everyone that has waited from the beginning to the end. I know that, trust me, it's not really easy to stay for 2 hours on a call like this. I totally appreciate all the guests. Thank you so much, Patrick. Patrick Chidozie is a data analyst at CWAY. Thank you so much, Bukola. Bukola is a product leader. Bukola currently works as a product manager at Cassbana. Thank you so much, GB. GB is a software developer, a software engineer, a chief technology officer at Tribl. Did I get it right? And then thank you so much to my other, guest, Timmy, our own Timmy. Timmy is a product designer at Across the Horizon in the US. Thank you so much, Ghalib. Ghalib is a cloud solution expert. Thank you everyone that have joined this conversation. It's been a very exciting one. 3 major things I need to say before you guys leave. Number 1 is that Utiva is right here to help you continue to develop your capacity, continue to learn, continue to become whatever you want to be in the technology industry. My colleagues will drop a link quickly. We have weekday coaching session that we call the consultation session. It's a session that helps you, to talk to an expert, talk to someone that can help you really figure out whatever you have as a challenge, right? They will drop the link quickly, and then you can fill the form. And, we would invite you specially to join us in the consultation session. Every Utiva learning program, from our data incubator to our data accelerator to our data science fellowship, to our big data fast track program, to product design, to product management. In product management, we have product incubator. For newbies, product accelerator for those that are already in the space but want to build better capacities, to our cloud developers program, front end, back end, full stack. You see that we are becoming a one-stop shop for everything technology learning. The goal for us is to make technology education pretty much very easy and easy peasy for everybody. So remember that whatever you want to learn at Utiva, every of our learning programs are virtual, they are online, but the unique advantage here is that they are instructor-led. They are live classes. So that gives you the opportunity to sit down with your trainer, your coaches, your court captains, and your other colleagues. I did mention at the beginning of this conversation that we have students coming from over 30 different cities. And you must have seen it from the introduction, where we had people from different parts of the world, like Johnson from Lagos, Kennedy from Madrid right now, like Lydia from Kenya, Ladipo from Ilori, Zara from Pakistan. We have people coming from different parts of the world to join this learning programs, this session. So guys, it's a pleasure to have you guys here. And one other thing I want to mention before you run away is, of course, every of the Utiva learning programs are virtual, they're instructor-led, and we also make them recorded. Why do we have to make them recorded? Why? Because sometimes you might miss a class and then you want to watch the recording version of the videos later. Or sometimes, you just have learned something and then you have started practicing, but you forget a particular principle. So you want to quickly revise the things that you've learned. The videos are made recorded for you every time. I like it when we end sessions like this with a selfie. Of course, we need to keep pictures and videos. So gentlemen and ladies, if you're happy to put on your video, remember to put them on quickly and we will take selfie. Just 2 things we need to do. Thank you, Johnson. Thank you, Feldua. Lambo, thank you so much. It's the end of the year. It's the end of the year. Christmas is coming.